everyone, to another edition of the Skookum Session Bigfoot Podcast Q&A. It's going to be Season 5, Episode 5. How are we all doing tonight? We've got, luckily, to have with us Mr. Gary Spikes Jr. Gary, how's it going?
Pretty good. Enjoying the somewhat warm weather down here.
Oh, I wish.
It hit 82 degrees yesterday.
Oh, God, we're still in the 20s.
We got storms hitting us now.
Oh, next I've got my partner, my OTT partner. I run IDP New York for him. Mr. Nick Valente, another one of my brothers. Nick,
how you doing, Jay?
Good. Couldn't be better.
Gary, Darrell, John.
How you doing?
Hey. Guys doing all right?
Mr. Darrell Denton and Mr. John Switzer.
Hey,
what's going on, Jeremiah, my best buddy, Nick and John and Gary. Gary got a new haircut. I didn't recognize him.
Yep, sure did. I got to make
Good,
myself
good.
look good for all these girls when I go play these gigs and stuff. And I told my wife when I get a haircut, I said, it ain't going to help. I'm still ugly as hell.
well, when you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig, right?
Absolutely. There you go. And I am definitely a pig. More
Well,
like a
there
warthog.
That's called an Oklahoma Mohawk.
It actually is.
Mohawk.
It actually is a mohawk.
Well, tonight, guys, we're gonna go off the trail a little bit here tonight. Darrell's got a little story for us, and after he gives us all the info, we're gonna kind of get into the aspects of the story. So, Darrell, you want to take the floor, sir?
Sure, yeah, I'm pretty glad to. Thanks, Jay. This was October 19th of this last year, 2022. One of my best friends, Martin Groves, and I had spent 3 days in the LBL, Land Between the Lakes. That was our planned 3 days. It didn't quite end up that long due to the outcome. But we had been deep back in the North End area, and we had actually went close to his original sighting of where he was actually attacked in 1993, and similar to that area there, real close to it. Didn't go all the way back in there, but just right to the creek in the area that it was in, to the left of it. And he had some pretty strong feelings about going back in there. So we had been there. We've been scouting that area for a day or so. And as night fell, we basically just rode the back roads back in there real slow. And if you've ever been in that area, there's a gravel road to the left, one to the right. There's so many of them and then there's dirt roads to the left and right. You can easily get lost back in there. But we had just stopped and had a bite to eat because we hadn't eaten all day. Just stopped in the middle of nowhere, got out. We were in his truck, sat on his tailgate and had a snack or two, and talked for 30 minutes or so, and got back in the vehicle. We had heard a noise to the left, but we had heard noises all night long, and day two didn't always see anything. A lot of the things we seen were deer, but at this time it was dark, probably, I'm guessing probably 11 o'clock at night, maybe 11:30. We had just made a turn, driving about 1 mile an hour, just barely moving, because you can't go fast around these areas over there where we're talking about anyway. And as we turned on this gravel road, I was in the passenger seat with my window down, and Martin was driving. We were barely moving as we had turned to the right. No, it'd be to the left. And I looked to the right of me out my window, and I seen a huge creature laying in a ditch to the right of me, probably 5 to 10 feet at the most. And I was looking down on it because the road's higher than the ground there. And it was looking right at me. It was in a position like it was ready to pounce. Could not see its feet. They were down in the grass and the sticks and everything. But it was in a postured mode like a cat looks when it's ready to pounce. And it was looking right at me. The head was huge. It was a silver gray color, kind of illuminated, almost cartoon looking. I know that sounds strange, but that's what it looked like.
Right.
The eyes were real deep and they were clear, like flashlight clear, maybe 3 or 4 inches, both eyes. It was looking right at me. It had a really weird expression on its face. It had mane like a line around the bottom of its head.
Oh, wow.
And about that time, I turned to look at Martin, and he looked at me. He said, "Did you just see what I seen?" I said, "How could I not? It's right here next to me." And I looked back, and
Wow.
we had driven by. He looked in the rearview mirror, and this thing went across behind the truck as he described it. I did not see it because he was looking in the mirror. I was looking out the side window trying to see if I could still see it or where it went. And it glided across behind the truck, as he said. It didn't look like it ran, it looked like it glided. And then we both could hear it to the left of us going up a steep hillside. We could hear branches and everything breaking as something big was running up the side of the hill. Maybe 3 minutes to 5 minutes later, my legs got tingly, both legs. I got real sick feeling in the top of my chest, not in the lower part of my belly like I have before when I've been what I call zapped from a Bigfoot. This was a different type feeling. I looked at Martin and he was gasping for breath, which really scared me. He said, Bubba, my tongue swelled up, my throat's swelling together, I can't get air. And I said, well, let me get over there and drive. He goes, now let me get us off this road. We get off the road and we're probably 20 miles from the actual park, what they call the traceway. But we had to pull over a couple times. I was really concerned about him because he wasn't able to breathe very well. And we turned the air on and rolled the windows up. I thought that might help. He was really having a real hard time struggling for air. And something caused his throat to swell and his tongue to swell up. And we finally made it to the traceway where there were street lights. And I got him out of the truck, helped him walk around a little bit, bent over and get some air outside. And he slowly started getting where he could breathe normally again. It was real scary. I thought he was going to just pass out right there. At the same time, the inside of the trucks, I can't smell real good because since I got COVID in 2020, I don't smell like I normally do. My smelling sense is gone. But Martin was telling me that the truck stunk so bad he couldn't hardly stand to sit in it. And we went down into the Dover area, which was a good ways away, and got to a car wash and opened all the doors up and tried to fumigate what we could out of it. It did get better, but he still was not well. And we got all of our gear together and we went straight back to our area of Robertson County. I was wanting him to go to the hospital. By the time we had got back to his house, which was probably an hour and 30 minutes, he was doing quite a bit better. He was able to breathe, but he still did not feel good. He was real sick. He was sick that whole week. Mine gradually wore off, and I was in pretty good shape by the time we got back. But he had a real difficult time. The next day, I had went home that night. His wife was there, and I told her to keep an eye on him. And I had called him when I got home, and he was feeling much better as far as breathing, but still felt real sick. The next day he went out, and then some type of coating was all over his truck. Very strange. I've never heard of this happening, but it was some type of some type of film that was all over his truck. And he had taken it to, a few days later, he had taken it to several cleanup shops. They had to buff it off, and it's still got parts of it still on the hood, on the edges of the hood. So that's the story. Never seen anything like that in my life. Very strange looking. Like I said, almost cartoonish. It almost looked like something that was hard to explain. It didn't look like a flesh and blood type animal to me.
Darrell, what did the head and the face look like? Was it wolf-like or not?
It was wolf-like. It was wolf-like, yes. It had pointed ears like a dog. Had a snout, not a real long snout, but a snout. It was almost transparent looking in parts of it. It was shining around the whole body edges of it like a glow. And it was silver gray in color. The mane was real thick up under its neck, sticking out. Could not see its feet. It was, I'm guessing, at least 7 to 8 foot long, laying in the ditch by the length of the body.
The ears were on the side or up top?
Up on top.
And,
Yeah,
and he
kind of on the side and the top, from the side up.
Right. From here straight up.
Correct.
How about
correct.
the hands, appendages in the front?
Could not see any hands. They were all on the ground. It was like it was like a cat looks when it's ready to pounce on something. So, I've never seen anything like that since, and never in my life. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. Like I said, it almost looked cartoonish. So
was this Kentucky LBL or Tennessee?
I'm not sure if that was Tennessee or Kentucky where we were at back there. I couldn't answer
right
that.
there. That's he's right on the line. Literally.
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah. Wow.
It was the strangest thing I've ever seen, and I hope I never see it again. But I don't know what it done to us. I personally believe, that I don't think ultrasound causes that. I think it's some type of radiation. Barton Nunley and I have talked about this over and over, and me and him and Barton talk regularly. The effect it has on you is pretty similar to some of the same effects that radiation has on you. I wish I had a meter to register radiation when I'm around these types.
I can send you a link to one. We just bought one for like $35, and I had it tested with a buddy of mine that calibrates them. And it's real reasonable. $35 on Amazon.
Yeah, I'd be glad to get a link. I'd love to have one because I've been what I call zapped 3 times in my lifetime, twice in a Bigfoot area, but it was a total different feeling than this one.
Yeah.
Before it was in the stomach area, like you were sick and your legs and your arms were tingly, but not like this one. It was more like the chest, and I didn't have a hard time breathing, but he did. So
you know what, Darrell, it sounds like what a skunk would do. It would spray something.
Yes.
I never seen anything come from it, myself, but something got in the truck. Martin said it was unbearable, so we stopped to try to let it air out, and it got a little better, but he had to have it. I think he had the truck cleaned a couple times a week or 2 after that, and still today it has a little bit of that smell in it, he says. So,
wow. What's funny is, infrasound, I've been doing a little bit of studying on the infrasound. It'll also mess with your olfactory system. But like Nick said, with the film being on the truck and everything, and that would also explain the smell. And it sounds to me like Barton was like having a allergic reaction.
It
was Martin Groves, not Barton.
Or Martin Groves.
Martin Groves, yeah.
But it sounds like he's almost having with the shortness of breath and the swelling of the throat, almost like a
allergic reaction.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
You know, guys, like when a skunk sprays you, you're not going to see that spray coming.
No.
Even if you're looking directly at it, you're not going to see it. So, you know what, Darrell, I'm wondering if you guys came upon I hate to say this, but a new or a different type of cryptid.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, if you start telling me that there's a 10-foot tall skunk running around in the woods, I'm not going in the woods again.
Well, you know, what I seen wasn't a skunk or didn't look like a skunk by the head anyway. So
Well,
I've never seen anything like that. It illuminated. It was illuminated.
Wow.
So that was.
You mean the whole thing glowed, in other words, around the body?
It was not like a bright light glow, but it was a light glow. The edges of the entire body were illuminated, like the ends of the hairs.
You think it was you think that a possibility could have been something like a polar bear with translucent hair with the sun shining through?
You know, but very possible. You know, I've never seen anything like that, but it was definitely the eyeballs were the eyes were the strangest thing too, because they were like 3 or 4 inches deep, round cylinder type looking, clear eyes looking, and you could see the eyes move.
Really? Wow.
But it was the strangest thing. You know, I wouldn't even believe it if I didn't see it. And Martin he couldn't believe it either. He thought, what was that? But the only reason I think it was a dog man because of the shape of the head, the ears, and I'd never seen a picture of one with like a lion mane under it, but this had that.
Like 2 quick questions. Well, do you think that outside of the lion mane, did it have any other feline? You know, maybe the face. Maybe
the best part of it that I could see was the head and the eyes. Okay. The body was down below, and I could see the body stretched out in the bush and the weeds. You know, but
bipedal or on all fours.
Well, I couldn't see the feet, but it looked like all fours. Yes.
Gotcha.
By the way it was standing, you know.
And one other thing, Darrell, knowing your background, when the light that was around what you were seeing with your paranormal background, do you think that maybe could have even been an aura residue? Because some people are kind of,
you know, that's a possibility. Like I said, I've never witnessed anything like that, but it does meet that criteria of what you're talking about. Yeah. I've heard that before. So
yeah,
but whatever it was really mean looking. It was ready to jump on us. It was very strange. I mean, it was like it looked like only way I can describe it is, you know, how a cat is fixing to jump on
like a pounce.
Yeah, that's what it looked like it was wanting to do. And we had just got in the truck approximately 50 foot from there, and we were sitting on the tailgate, and I'd heard all kinds of branches and stuff moving over that area, but we had heard stuff all night. It could have been a deer or anything we heard. And when right as we turned on to that, I had, you know, of course we had the windows down. We were looking for anything we could see because we were going to stop and get out and walk around and try to see what we could find. And when we seen that pretty much ended the night. But we had been out several different places.
One other quick question. When you turned into that, did you actually hit it full force with the headlights, or did you see it out of the side of the headlights?
No, the headlights didn't hit it at all. We were up above it. The road is approximately maybe 5 or 6 feet from the ditch. It was in the ditch looking up.
Oh. That's interesting.
The headlights were straight ahead. The creature was to my right. Right when I turned and looked out the passenger window, I was looking right down at it. It was looking right at me.
So
you're talking like a drainage ditch.
Yeah.
It actually, after we went back to that place a couple of weeks after that, it's actually a creek bed there.
Oh.
So I thought it would, but it had a lot of branches and all types of like cattail like things sticking up. And but it didn't have cattails on it. The spiky looking tall pieces of weed and you know what I'm talking about, like a cattail without the cattails on it. That's what it was laying.
Almost like a Johnson grass almost.
Correct. Yeah.
Marsh vegetation.
Yeah. So
Correct.
if the headlights wouldn't hit it, that would automatically knock out reflection. You know, if it
Oh
was
yeah,
wet.
it wasn't headlights at all. We were
Unless
above it.
unless the tips of the hair were covered with water.
Well, that's what
moisture.
I was just going to say. If it was wet and then the light would hit it, it would make it look like that. But that's wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that excuse me, that creek when we went back was dry as a bone.
Yeah.
So it may have had some water in it at that particular time. I don't know. If it did, I wouldn't think it'd been very much.
What time of night? Well, I'm thinking in terms of dew. You know, DEW.
It was. I'm thinking it was sometime between 11 and 11:30 in that area.
Temperature and so forth like that would cause.
Temperature was warm, 65, 68 degrees probably. It was October 19th of 2022.
Well, it was a humid. I'm just thinking of the temperature. I'm thinking of dew and what temperature and humidity, what it would take to create
sweat.
Dew.
Sweat.
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
No.
If you look at a canine, canines don't sweat like.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
the
they do out
first.
their mouth,
That was
Yeah.
that was actually the first dog man type creature I'd ever seen in the LBL. Now, I've seen one before, but it was in Virginia. That was actually October of 21. My first one I'd ever seen, but it was nothing like this one, and it wasn't very big. It was only maybe 6 foot tall. Nothing like what I thought a dog man would look like until it's stood up on 2 and looked at me. So this was a totally different. I've never seen anything that looked like this.
That's, you know, I'm just saying, I'm not saying that it is or anything, but one thing that comes to mind, the way you're describing it with the mane and the way it's acting and even the smell, there is a cryptid that come out of Africa that was, they called them the lion people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in the ancient times in Egypt, they would actually fight out of Africa and even some of the Hindu religions. I remember from some of my Buddhist teachings, but they would fight on the side of humans against other entities. I can't think of the name of them. I'll have to find the link on that and send it to you, because they call them dang it. But anyways,
I posted I put a post up on them the other day on
Did you?
On my page. Yeah, you look at my page, you can find it.
But
I actually seen that, Jeremiah.
Yes, I put it on your page too, I think.
Yeah, I seen that. Yeah.
Yep. They used to fight with it along with the humans. Yeah.
That's interesting, because if you think too, even cats, you ever been around a male cat when they spray?
No.
It stinks. You know, that's just something that crossed my mind, but I would lean more with LBL. I mean, that area is so keen for dog man. I mean,
question. You said something about a coating on the vehicle.
Right.
All right. You said there's still some around the hood.
Around the front, around where a bug shield would be.
All right.
You know, the very front of the hood, Martin had it buffed.
Yeah. I just want to make a suggestion.
Yeah.
If there's any of it still there, scrape it off, put it in a paper bag, and
samples.
Test it.
Yeah.
And you'll find out whether you ran into a big cat or something else.
Yeah.
Cats spray. I mean, we got cougars coming through Indiana, and people go, "Oh, heck no." Well, they travel the river bottoms and so forth through here. We used to have, and I could show you in the Indiana history books, we had black panthers in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And there's repeatedly, and there's one story in particular that I remember about a boy killing a black panther after it attacked his sister, killed her, but he actually had an old trade tomahawk and he killed it with that. This is back in the 1700s. So things do exist. Things still may exist. A cat, you can tell if it's cat spray. I'm not saying it is this. I'm not saying it ain't this. I'm just a suggestion.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that suggestion. Yeah, I know that I have been told by several people, I've never seen one, that there are actually big, large black cats in the LBL. but I've never seen one of them. So,
Right.
Well, their eyes too will shine, and they get down and crouch just like you said.
Just,
yeah.
So
just
Darrell, did the guys who did the buffing on his truck, do you know if any of them got sick?
Not that
Yeah.
I know of.
Pretty good.
Not that I know of, because I didn't even know that I wasn't even aware that he had the truck buffed until
Yeah.
we usually go out together at least 2 times a month.
Yeah.
Barton Groves and I go out together. And usually a couple times a month we get together. I come home and I'll spend 2 or 3 days with them, and then the rest of the time with my family. But he had told me, he said, you know, that smell in the truck? And I said, yeah. He said, I never got it out, but they did
Oh, wow.
everything to get it out. He said, then they buffed the truck and they finally got it all clear. But then he pointed and said, there's still a little bit on the edge of the hood.
Yeah.
I mean, the very edge of the hood there. So
take something
But,
like a tongue depressor that's clean, or a bamboo, only piece of bamboo that's clean. You know, it's not going to be, it's organic, but it's going to be like plant, as opposed to
yeah, I'm totally
try to scrape it off
convinced.
like that.
I'm totally
Scrape it that way.
convinced that, you know, I don't want to speak for Martin because he's not here, but you know, he is one of my best friends, and I've known him 41 years and been with him for a long time through a lot of things. And I pretty much believe, this sounds crazy, but I believe that he is absolutely marked by the dog man, because they seem to just want to find him. And this may not have been a dog man, but we've been out there in other situations, and I haven't seen it, but he has seen one since then. And he's pretty fearful after he starts seeing them. So
So,
um
something
Go
I
ahead.
too, no, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, you're fine. Go ahead,
okay,
John.
something I too wonder about is if something has all that stealth. If something, I'm saying anything, I don't care if it's a squirrel. If something has all that stealth, if something is hunting you, if something is trying to sneak up on you, it's not going to be busting crap. It's not going to be breaking twigs. And if it's that big, maybe it's doing it deliberately to let you know it's there. If it's actually hunting you, you're not going to hear it.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no doubt. It was waiting till we turned that curve, because it was laying there waiting on us. That was my opinion. You know, but the more I thought about it after it happened, that was my conclusion of what it was doing. So I don't know if we've been walking up that road instead of driving like we had been doing that night on several roads, but we had fortunately gotten a vehicle, and you know, just you know how you're barely going in a truck on a gravel road in the middle of nowhere, maybe a mile an hour, 2 miles, whatever it was, barely moving.
Hearing the gravel pop under your wheels.
Oh yeah, yeah,
okay,
very
okay,
easy
yeah.
with the windows down too. So, you know, so we could get a good view of anything. Because we had stopped numerous times and shined flashlight here or there. We got out and walked down a little path with, you know, we get out there and look around like nothing like some people do there. So, I mean, hell, Ben Holler, they get out there and do it all, but
Yeah.
we're not that brave. So, it's pretty crazy there though. But I don't know what we seen. I personally think it was some type of dog head. I couldn't tell you 100% what it was, but the strangest thing was hearing it break branches and stuff going up the side of this real steep bank. When it crossed behind us, you could hear it just cracking stuff going through there. And
Question, Darrell.
I
I didn't mean to cut you off, but
you're fine.
the way you describe it taking off behind you, you could hear it snapping branches and stuff. Do you get the impression at all that it was pissed off that you were in that vehicle and it was kind of wishing you were on foot walking down that road?
You know, I do now, but I didn't then, you know. But now I think that was a possibility, because we were out not very far from this, you know. I mean, I'm guessing at the most 100 feet, you know, sitting on the end of a tailgate in the middle of the dark. And when it's dark in LBL, you can't even see your hand.
It's dark.
And we had a little lamp setting up where we could eat our snacks we were eating and talking, and we got back in and said, let's go, let's see what we can find. And that's when we turned right where we heard that noise on that road, and there it was. So very strange. Like I said, I've never seen anything like that.
Darrell, you brought up something that I'm not near as adverse in Dogman as Nick is, but you brought up something that I'd like to reiterate back on. You talking about it being tagged or following him. That is a fairly common thing that I hear when we take Dogman reports and when I hear stories of that. And that to me shows more a level of either supernatural intelligence or cognitive intelligence. And you hear of them, I've literally heard more with Dogman than I have with Sasquatch, of them trying to open doors and stuff. Nick, you got any thoughts on that?
You mean as to whether this would be a
feasible
or a?
Well, no. Would you has that been about the same with you? Have you heard a lot of reports about them following people around and stuff like that? I mean, you've taken a lot more reports than I have.
Yeah, several thousand actually. When they're tracking people, until they decide to let the people know they're there, people don't even know they're there at all, unless you come upon it, in the woods. And that's kind of a rare case. I would say that generally they're making noise to make you get out of that area. You're in their area of a kill, or you're in that area of their juveniles, or where their burrow is, or their cave, or whatnot, or water. You're in the way. That's when they're generally letting you know that they're there. And I agree with you, Gary. For the most part, I think they are intelligent to that point anyway. I don't think they're on the same par with a human, but they are intelligent enough and crafty. I mean, look at mountain lions. When they stalk their prey, they're extremely crafty. That's the only word I can use for it. You know what they're doing? They're going slow. They're sneaking up on it. They're not making noise. You don't hear any noise.
No.
So, I mean, that's something. I'm just trying to figure out what they could have come upon, whether it's a new and different type of cryptid or that looks similar to Dogman. Because I know I have been sent over the last 10 years or so reports from people that thought they saw a Bigfoot, but they said, this ain't looking like any Bigfoot I've ever seen. And what they described was more like a lizard man type thing, but the thing was huge. It was like, close to 8 feet tall, according to the witnesses. So I don't know what Darrell, came upon. John's got a good idea. I mean, you should get organic Q-tips or something and wipe down that hood and see where we can get that checked out. What that liquid is.
Very strange. Like I said, the only other Dogman I ever seen was nothing like anything that looked like this.
Yeah.
Me either.
And the head was so big. I mean, the head was like half the size. It was at least half the size of the windshield. It was that big.
Wow.
Oh my God.
You gotta be kidding me.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding a bit.
A cat or a lion. You ever seen a lion's head could ever take up the size of your torso from here down to your hips?
That's true. Yeah.
All right. So, I'm going to always try and eliminate what it could be, even if it's somebody's escaped lion, before I jump to conclusions. But I'm not putting anything. That's just me. That's how I do it. But yeah, a lion's head is that big. So there you go. There's an animal that you could at least run scale on, size wise. They do exist. Lions exist, so it could be something similar. Anyway, now I'm trying to gracefully get out of what I'm talking about. You guys take it from there.
Darrell, did you mention if it had I wasn't quite paying attention at that point. Did you mention if it had a tail? Or could you see
I couldn't
one?
see a tail.
Couldn't see a tail.
No, I could not see a tail.
Makes it more interesting, Gary, after that picture you just sent.
I know it's interesting, but it doesn't explain the size.
It doesn't explain the size. No.
And they was, I mean, Darrell and them was close enough that you would literally, you'd be right there, so you can get a good gauge of the size.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we went back to that creek bed. I measured roughly, not with a tape measure, but from roughly where the front to the back was, from the edge of the bank back, and it was pretty close to 8 feet because I'm 6'5" and I walked it off. So I could have missed it by 6 inches, but it was in that range.
I have to say, with the picture that I sent, and we do know the LBL, and the going, one of the going theories is, for lack of better terms, the face eater, the snouted.
The Gugway.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And that would explain some of the behavior too.
Yeah,
the Gugway's actually been spotted over there around the Tennessee River, where it branches off towards the Tennessee River area. Now, I've never seen a Gugway, but I've heard of many sightings. Matter of fact, there was some team that went in there 10 or 11 years ago, over to where that meets where the rivers meet into where the Tennessee River is. And the story I was told, I don't have any, proof that they were actually seen it, but they had said that they had seen a Gugway over in that area. So, I've always related back to Martin Groves' first story, when the dog man came on him and his partner, the two Bigfoot that were in the field when they left out in the truck. There was 2 huge Bigfoot that they shined the lights on trying to get out of there, that were trying to help the dog man, apparently, kill them, eat them, whatever they were trying to do. And they were huge ones. And I've asked Martin plenty of times, do you think it was a Gugway? And he says, I can't be sure, but I know it was a Bigfoot creature. They were huge and they were standing there looking at us. So
you're saying that the Bigfoot, I've never heard that story. You're saying the Bigfoot and the dogman was collaborating, coming after the human?
Oh yeah, that was Martin Groves' first. That was his first book.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something we don't hear up here. They don't play.
Yeah, his first book, The Beast Between the Two Rivers, and even the movie that he was in last July, which was American Werewolves. You can rent it. It's about $3, $4 on any of them now. Last year it was out on Vudo when it came out in July. His story there was the same way. These things were whistling as he was coming back through the woods when they were turkey hunting. And he didn't know what it was whistling. And these things followed him a long way through the woods. And he kept looking back, and he could see something way off in the distance that he thought was a man in a ghillie suit. But it wasn't a man in a ghillie suit. It turned out to be later toward the end of when they were almost killed. The man in the ghillie suit was the same creature that he seen in the field when they tried to escape in the truck, getting out away from these dogmen. And it was one of those tall Bigfoot. There were 2 of them standing in the field. They were with the dog. They were either helping the dog man or trying to run the dog man off, because they were really in close proximity to the dog man. He thinks they corroborated with him. So
you're the one that
I don't know.
I think it's more along the lines of competition for food.
Could be. I don't know.
That's just me. Yeah.
I'd have to agree with you, John.
Same here.
I've never taken a report where Bigfoot and Dogman are collaborating. They're not friends.
Yeah. I mean, food is kind of scarce out there, especially when it's on the hoof.
Absolutely.
You got to chase it down.
Well, 2 apex predators. I mean, anywhere you got lions and you got leopards in Africa, they compete for food. A Bigfoot and a Dogman are no different. 2 apex predators.
I mean, it's the law of nature.
Exactly.
I've actually heard more stories in the last year with Dogman and Bigfoot being together than I ever have. So I don't know. I haven't witnessed it, but from some credible people that I've talked to.
Wow.
And we've even had some pictures in my group of some of my really good researchers that I have that aren't as well known as some of the big name researchers, but some of these researchers are as good as anybody. And they've actually had pictures of a dog man not far from a Bigfoot in a picture. I mean, not, they're not always exactly clear, but you can see what they are. So,
well, one could have been stalking the other. That's what I'm saying.
That's possibility. Yeah, that's like I said.
They don't have their arms around each other's shoulders, saying, "Hey, bro."
No, now Nick, that they're using leashes and collars now. They got them trained to attack dog men.
I think the Bigfoot has a dog whistle, so that might work. So
they do braid each other's hair. Don't forget that one.
Oh yeah.
I do got a question. Darrell, have you ever seen the and I don't know any other way of putting it, but this way, but I don't like using the word alleged, but I don't know any other word for it. But have you ever seen the picture of the Beast of Seven Shoots?
No, I haven't.
The brown, I'll have to pull it up and send it, but it's literally definitely something there, but it looks like a big Sasquatch, and it looks like it's got an off-colored snout,
like a baboon face.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it and I'll post it and let you.
Yeah,
the reason I was asking that is that would be a good comparison because they say that's a gugway.
Well, I've just recently found out in the last couple of years from some of my researchers, and I'm talking about good researchers that have been out there in the woods for days, and that there is another creature called a wolf creature.
Yeah,
and it's not a Bigfoot, and it's not a dog man. It looks like a Bigfoot as far as stature, but it doesn't have a snout, but it has ears like a dog.
Almost like the bear in Kentucky. They call them the bear. What do they call them? The bear squatch. Bear squatch.
But I've had several people that's got pictures of these things, and they call them a wolf creature. They don't seem to be nearly as aggressive as either of any of them, but they look like a Bigfoot except for the pointed ears.
Darrell, I just posted that in the chat. Can you see that?
There it is.
No, I can't see it.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, Jeremiah can send it to you, and we can collaborate later on that. Now, is there any way that we can share screen on this?
If you click on chat, you'll see it. On the bottom of the screen, it says chat. Just click on it. Should have the number 11 on it.
Well, I'm on my iPhone. I don't have that.
Oh,
I'm not on a computer.
All right.
I can
chat, huh?
Jeremiah should be able to share it.
There was a creature. I say creature. There was help me here. They called it a bear dog, and it existed umpteen billion years ago when the Earth was first being.
You're talking about the long-faced bear.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's another one. They call it bear dog. I know what you're talking about. You say the short-faced bear. I mean,
yeah.
But this was not a bear, not a dog. It basically I'll say Jurassic period, one of those periods. Okay. So, what I see is everybody's face covering the picture. Which one of us is this?
What did you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to touch.
You know me, Gary. I'm not a. I made you a co-host, Gary. You should be able to share that.
Okay, go ahead and hit stop share.
Okay.
And then let me
Where did Nick go?
And for all of you folks out there listening, do not try to do this at home, right?
Exactly.
You'll cut yourself off from the podcast.
As bad tactical as I am, I don't want to try anything. So.
He said it said number 11. Mine says 10. I'm not touching it.
Trying to see if I could.
I've seen that. I've seen that before. Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
one supposedly taken next to a falls or a river
Yes.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, when I see it, I don't see that. I see something entirely different.
Darrell, did you get a good look at the face? Get a look at the face?
Yeah,
on
I
that?
can see it fairly good. It's a real small picture. But
Yeah, I'll find a bigger one.
yeah, I see what you're talking about. It's a little difficult for me to see.
Give me just a second and I'll find a bigger one. But
Yeah, see, I've seen that, and people have said, "Can you see the eyes? Look at the eyes. Look at the teeth." And it's like, I'm sorry, I can't see either. You know, I just see an outside form with some color. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just saying this is how you see it. Now, maybe that's individual pareidolia. I don't know. You know, for the lack of a better term for me. You know.
Lost you there,
Okay.
Nick.
here we go. Share
I don't know what
screen.
the heck happened. That chat thing took over my whole screen and then blanked me out.
You're back.
Now everybody else is gone. Oh my God.
We still hear you.
Oh, we're still.
Is that a little
There
better,
we go.
Darrell?
What the heck? Somebody just
Oh
took
yeah,
my screen
yeah, I
again.
see it. Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
I think I have seen that before. Yeah, I have seen that before. I didn't know what it was called, but I have seen
Yeah.
that before.
Well, the reason it brought mine to mind is you see that like the blonde hair around the on the around towards the shoulders
Right.
and stuff.
Right, right.
It almost looks like a mane, and it's
it was
Yeah.
nothing like that.
okay.
This
okay.
was mane
No.
underneath the chin, from the
Okay.
jaw underneath the chin, hanging down like a mane.
Okay, gotcha.
Now the Ginosko is known to have a mane underneath the jaw. Is it not?
I've
Genos-
heard that it has. Ginosko, I've heard of the Ginosko. Yeah. Don't know a lot about them, but I've heard of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about Dogman. I just know what I've seen. But
Jay, I
just-
thought I called the Genosquash, but Genosqua, whatever. Isn't that the one that generally rolls itself in the mud and then in rocks?
Yeah, they call them
Yeah.
So
Stone-
that's gonna have
Stone giant.
a different type of look.
Yeah. I might be getting confused with
Is
something
that
else.
Native American for a stone man?
yes,
Yeah.
Stone giant.
yes.
A stone giant.
Matter of fact, I can't even think of your tribe, Jeremiah.
Mohawk.
The Mohicans and the other one on the same nation. The whole group.
Iroquois.
The Iroquois nation.
Iroquois Nation.
Their translation of it is stone man.
Yeah.
Because there's
Sure.
stories that they would shoot them with bow and arrows and it wouldn't puncture
Wouldn't do
the
anything.
skin. Yeah.
That's why they went over to the RPGs. That actually worked better.
Yeah.
I will tell you this: if I see something like what Darrell's seen, I'm going to be going and finding me an RPG or calling in an A10 Warthog or something.
I'm gonna get some of them little birds that they're giving up now, and
You ain't joking.
I hope they have the gats on the sides. We can pick a couple up, Gary.
Yeah, tell me about it. I wish I could.
I
Find
tell
one.
you what, if we had not heard that this bank this thing went up was really steep, it was probably close to a 45-degree angle. And it went, I don't know how far it went up,
Wow.
but it was such noise that we probably would have went back and see if we could see it again. But even the condition Martin was in, because we got back and we talked about it. You want to go through there and see if we see it again? And he said, "Man, I just don't know if I can do it," because he was in pretty bad shape as far as being sick, and I didn't want to take a chance of anything happening to him. But
Yeah.
Right.
but I'm sure knowing he and we would have probably backed up and tried to see it again if we hadn't heard the noise going up the side of the hill. And I didn't even realize that it went up the hill. He said, "I just seen it go." He looked in his rearview mirror. I could hear the noise, but I didn't know it was that creature. So,
How long could you hear it for, Darrell?
it wasn't very long. You could hear it maybe 4 or 5 seconds. You could hear it breaking, and you could hear it going up the hill, and then it just kind of. We were driving too real slow, so we probably drove out of the noise. So,
something I'm thinking about is now, again, it's not trying to throw a monkey wrench into it, just something that I'm thinking about. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen a cat laying on a bed and the thing falls off, and and all of a sudden it like corrects itself, and it's like, I meant to do that on purpose, right? And when you got an animal in an area that it frequents, that it knows, it's not gonna try and go. Now, you got to hear me out. It's not going to try if it doesn't know the area. It may try and go a 45-degree angle, but if it knows the area and it knows it's rocky, it's going to go around it.
Or find a
knows,
trail.
or
Yeah.
if it a trail.
Yeah.
So I'm supposing this is something that is not indigenous to the area,
Very well could be.
if I can say it
Right.
that way.
That's
You know
a
what you mean.
possibility. I
See what I mean?
really have no clue.
Yeah,
I
so-
don't know. But I just know what we've seen and heard. So
And that's good. And that's good what you're saying. Yeah. And I accept that. She saw
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
I hope I never see it again. I can tell you that.
Don't go there no more.
Oh, we go there regularly, not
Yeah.
in the same areas, but we've been back there several times since, and we haven't seen anything in that area.
Well,
But
just remember what your dad or grandpa used to say. It's more scared of you than you are of it, right? Mhm.
yeah, that works real well.
No,
That really
Apex
does.
predator.
As long as
and
it makes you feel better, man. That's
Yeah. I remember that story growing up, and it didn't make me feel any better. But
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, that's
You
why
know,
they're-
the thing with me with LBL, I mean, just in general, I've taught a lot of survival classes there, and like Boy Scout troop type stuff. It's got everything that you would need. It's got water on both sides. It's got good hardwood bottoms. It's got squirrels. It's got deer. It's got all kinds of fauna and floral to survive. And where
Don't forget
it's
about all the hogs in there. There's
Absolutely.
tons of hogs. there.
absolutely, I mean, so it just makes sense that any kind of a semi-migratory predator would use that whole area because they can follow them rivers and come straight down. I mean, it just makes wonderful sense. And I've never, on the spiritual aspect of it, I'll say one or two things right quick. On the physical aspect of it, it is literally within probably 500 square miles, one of the best hunting areas to hunt because of all the stuff there. But even spiritually, that area has such a bloody history all the way back to the French-American Wars and the Native American Wars of 1812.
Oh yeah. There's actually revolutionary graves there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Indian mounds everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, see that adds a whole different aspect to this, where he's talking about the two different types. I'm under the assumption that they say that the supernatural type according to certain legends, was brought about to protect those mounds. And that's
Native American Indian mounds.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there
You
is
got
a
them
lot of
all over
mounds
here.
there.
Yeah.
There's about 270,000 acres there, so there's a lot of area to roam.
Yeah.
That's for
Lot of
sure.
land.
I know you can drive for a week and not cover it all.
Oh man, you can take roads to the left and right as long as you want to and not run out.
help me. I'm trying to remember something that was said about the LBL and John Kennedy. And I cannot remember something about a bill that he passed or something that had to do with LBL. Anybody remember anything about that, or are y'all too young?
I would say I'm probably too young because I'm the
Young,
youngest one
Same
here.
here.
Okay, I can't. There was something about it. Okay, maybe somebody can add a comment about that. No, something.
I remember hearing something about it, but I don't.
And I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was conspiracy crap, I think, but I don't know.
You might see somebody in the chat there that might have that answer. I can't see it, but
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully
possibly.
somebody will,
Yeah. Hopefully someone will respond
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, we'll know then.
it's about the strangest area I've ever been in. Even when you go in that area, you get a weird feeling. So
Yeah.
even in the daytime.
With you going there so much, Darrell, I have to ask, what is your thoughts on the legitimacy? Did I say that right? Legitimacy.
Yeah, you know, legitimacy.
Close enough.
Of the family murder.
You know, of what I've seen by my close friends, you know, I would believe anything Martin Nunley told me because he's a close friend. I know him as an honorable person. He wouldn't mislead. He's the kind of guy that you would like because he tries to debunk it before he tries to theorize it. So, you know, I definitely believe it happened. There's no doubt about that. But there's just too many people that, you know, are even still around that I have certain friends that have interviewed those people and you know, it happened. So I know where it happened. I've been to that area several times, and it's very difficult to get there now because it's been changed so much, and they tore all the old area out, you know, where the campground was, and you can't even get up in there now. They've got it blocked, if I remember correctly.
You got to walk like over a mile. Yeah,
you do. It's a good ways, and you know, Joe and Jesse of Hellbent Holler, they've been up there several times in the dark. So, and there's been numerous people. We've been up there, you know, in the dark, close to it. But, you know, I have heard so many different theories. You know, there's a guy that supposedly survived under the trailer, and I've heard all of that. And I have a very difficult time, and nothing against him. I don't know. That'd be hard to believe because I personally think that the dogman creature, by what I've read, not by experience, would be smart enough to smell somebody out underneath a camper, and especially with a 410 shotgun, it's just going to make one mad when you shoot it. So, I mean, a 410 can do some serious damage and could possibly kill one, but what I understand about these creatures, the ones that have been shot at, I wouldn't think a 410 would kill one. It might make it mad and might injure it severely, but you know, it may be true. Maybe he was under the camper. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he seems credible when you hear the story. Hard to say. I do believe the story of the lady at the gas station that talked to the two officers that were there. That's a pretty credible story. You know, she talks about what they told her, and they were both sick, sitting on that curb edge at the gas station and really shook up. And, you know, I don't know who all was called in there. I've heard numerous state police and everybody. I don't know who all was in there. I wasn't there, but I have talked to numerous people that say that it's the real thing. Me personally, I've not talked to one of the eyewitnesses, but you know, some of the stories I've heard seem to be really credible. I can't see why that would be a made-up story.
Yeah. Well, I would.
One of the things that I always do, you know, you try to eliminate, you know, and try and debunk it, try and get rid of the simplest things, you know. But one of those things that you have to try and debunk it with too is follow the money.
Yes.
You know, because there's so many stories out there that people have high hopes of their 15 minutes worth of glory on YouTube and making them rich, you know. So I'm not saying that's just one of the, well, what I'm saying is that's one of the tools you use or can use when it comes down to elimination of this or that, trying to lead, you know, trying to get down to the.
Well, John, in one of the follow the money cases, because you're correct, if you somewhere along the line, it's going to involve money.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me a case and that I can't, you know, bring up a good hypothesis about why it's follow the money. In this case, it has nothing to do with making of the money, except that the government came in and actually hid the place. They
Oh,
bulldozed.
yeah. I heard that.
Correct.
They
Yeah.
That
took
is
out,
correct. That is
Darrell, I mean,
correct.
you've been there. You can
Oh,
see
yeah.
they took out the little cement posts that had the
Correct.
electrical wiring,
Yep.
for people to hook up. They took all that out.
They changed it where you couldn't get back in there
Right,
and
they
use it.
changed
Yeah,
it
I
totally.
heard that. Yeah.
And they
And they-
made it difficult for you to get there. Well, you can't get there by car. You're going to have to walk about 3/4 to a mile to get in
Yep.
there. So yeah, that part of that show me the money thing is
That's just
That-
a tool. One
they
of the
wanted
tools.
people, they want people to come to the park.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
hiding it so that people come to the park and hopefully
Yeah,
over
well-
time they'll forget.
Another thing that got me is they built the campground 2 miles down the road shortly after that.
Yeah.
To, kind of the sleight of hand thing,
But it's
Well,
still 2 miles away and they
Yeah.
want to draw them there. That's the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Make money 2 miles away from it.
Yeah, but still make money somehow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the most interesting theories I ever heard in my life, and I've heard it a bunch, and I've heard people try to discredit it, but the National Park Service is a $22 billion a year industry.
22.8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we did find out that these things actually happened, I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, I'm not into conspiracy theories. I served this country at a fairly high level in the Department of Defense, but it makes sense. That would, if they found out that these things was out there, that would destroy that industry, and that brings a lot. It's all about the money. They just made it to where it's harder for me to shoot documentaries on state parks. You got to get $150 a day permit to even shoot video.
That's
Yeah, but
right. Yep.
You're going to have more people wanting to go see it now
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they can't go see it.
Yeah.
So that increases, money.
Well, I'd say that
Somewhat.
I would say you'd probably hurt the tourism more than you would help it by releasing a report that there's some wild animal running through the parks killing people.
I
So-
totally agree with you. Yeah, you might
Yeah.
have that 5% of the people that are curious, but you got the 95% of the people that have kids that want
Correct.
to go to a park, and they're going to go to a park someplace else so that their kids don't get grabbed, killed,
Well-
torn apart, whatever.
Go ahead.
We had a spot here in Indiana, Bartholomew County, and I Mills something or other park. This happened in November, the beginning of November. Now you got to remember Halloween is the end of October. This happened at the beginning of November. And this Jeremiah, it was the second story in that group stuff that I sent you. It was a
Yeah.
second story. All
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
And supposedly a carload of girls. Now, I do not believe the story. All right. I'm sorry. I don't believe it. You can see the town hall from the park, from what I understand. Anyway, supposedly a group of 3 or 4 girls in a car eating their lunch, and this creature covered with slime comes up out of the creek or the pond, beating on the window, scares the girls off. All right. The same night or the same day in the evening, 2 ladies get their dinner and head to the park to talk and eat their dinner. And again, this creature covered with green slime comes and starts beating on the window and chases them off. Now, what I'm getting at is what comes next. And Jeremiah shared this with these guys. This is Indiana Bigfoot sightings and stuff, the most major ones. Anyway, from that point, the police had to start shooing people out of the park, not to keep the creature safe, but to prevent people from injuring one another. Because you had people showing up wanting to see the creature, pull in a bounty on the creature, and take a trophy home. So you had people, from what I understand, coming, and I'm from Indiana. So you had people coming in from out of state with all kinds of third world country armament, all in one car, coming after this creature, which may or may not have existed what a coincidence in it being the 1st of November and shortly after Halloween.
Halloween. Yeah.
Well,
And
what are the
when was
common-
that?
what are the
When was
common
this
factors,
again?
though?
Oh, it was years ago.
Okay, I've heard
Jer-
that story. Is
Yeah.
that the same one? It went into the Ohio River. The Ohio River fed up to it.
No, this is Bartholomew County. It's a
Okay,
it's more it's the only river that'd be close to that. Oh Lordy, probably eastern fork of the Ohio. No, Wabash, White River. We got a western fork, we got an eastern fork of White River. But Jeremiah, can you send that to these guys?
Absolutely.
All right, send it to them. I mean, it's got to do with Indiana, and I've checked out, BFRO reports and other reports on the counties around me, and you've got everything from frickin' Brown County, Monroe Reservoir, oh Lordy, nothing in Hamilton County, but mostly south central, southwestern, southeastern. And what that is that's all glacier dump. We call it glacier dump. That's how far the glacier came down and pushed stuff up. But it's more than that for the hilliness and so forth. It reminds you of the foothills of the Smokies, basically. It runs from south central, takes you about an hour to get there, and flattens out the river bottom that goes down to the Ohio. But yeah,
I've heard that. I've heard a story similar to that, and actually seen on Monster Quest years ago.
That was just north of St. Louis, there on the Ohio River. It was, I think they called it, about where the Boy Scout troop went up on the hill, and what's the name of that?
where they come across that hut or that.
Yeah.
And then they see the thing walking on the ridge, going, "Oh my God," that kind of a thing. Yeah.
Well, that was actually Washington State.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, the one that I'm talking about is the one that I'm talking about was in the 60s and 70s. They seen it at a baseball field, and then a Boy Scout troop seen it up on the hill, and some law enforcement people seen it. It kind of terrorized the little town. But one thing I wanted to say, being the tracker and the stuff that I've done with the Department of Corrections and the Department of Fish and Game, they even do it now with this whole sleight of hand thing. If we have like an animal attack or something in most of our state parks, what's the first thing they do? They try to weed it under the brush, and then they grab the animal and take it somewhere else if they can't come out and kill it. Just like the lady that got attacked in California by the mountain lion. They try to kind of hush that thing down because I agree with John that a lot of the times it will bring people in, but my biggest concern is if we do release this in the national parks, it's going to bring the wrong people in. It's going to bring people running around with a bunch of crazy rednecks like me. Yeah. Well, no, not quite like me, because I'm not going to do it, but running around with guns.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, they started doing that. That's why I said they had to turn people away just to, so they wouldn't hurt each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've done, for me, doing Montgomery and Morgan and Monroe and Park and, Putnam County, those areas, the counties that I frequent in. And Park County was mentioned the other day. That's a lot of Amish area there. And, a lot of farms. And there's river bottom, but it's flat. But there's still wooded areas, It's good. It's nice country. It's nice to see. It's worthwhile, going there. You never know.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Nick a question, getting off the subject, because I've listened to him on Jessica's show when he was on there both times. And what is your account, Nick, on the missing in LBL, for example? I personally think that there's quite a few hunters that have been killed there by some type of creature.
There have been, over the years, the reports I've taken and people I've interviewed, you're right. There are some missing hunters out there. They did sweep one in particular. They want to call it a murder, but under the rug, they swept this one hunter, his disappearance, and subsequently they found parts of his body and they identified him. He was torn up pretty bad.
Yeah.
Which
he was
doesn't mean,
wasn't he a bow hunter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't mean another type of animal couldn't have done it, because his chest was torn open. His vital organs were all taken out. He still had his eyes. They were still there, and they identified him through dental. But in reference to the LBL one, I truly believe that did happen. Those two sheriff's officers who, after working the night and early morning, went back to the, I want to call it little cafe slash
Correct.
Gasoline station.
Yeah.
I mean, they sold both gas, but it was basically a luncheonette type place where they would go every morning to get coffee and, something to eat. They were totally shaken up. Where I got this from was the daughter of the woman that owned that little luncheonette. I had went there years ago, and I was able to speak to that lady, and she identified herself, and she did say, that one of the officers she knew moved away, and the other officer he had passed away. But to me, that actually happened. I mean, because she told me what they told her. She's older now, of course, but her mother's now gone. But in reference to people, I mean, reports that I've taken and people that are missing in LBL, there's quite a few. There is quite a few, Darrell.
Yeah. I've heard of, I've got quite a few friends that frequent there, and they found quite a few tents out in the middle of the woods, just shredded and nothing there. But,
oh yeah. Quite a few tents ripped up. I've been out there a few times, and these are, Gary, the old military tents, the canvas ones, the green ones. Yeah, they found a couple of those suckers all ripped to shreds. But once again, it could have been another type of an animal that did it. Who knows? But Darrell, what I wanted to tell you is that since you and Martin have been there, either both of you, or maybe you're just you, if you'd be willing to take a walk up to that site with me, and maybe I can get Jay to come with me and a couple other guys.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. As long as Martin's good with it, I am, because it's pretty close. It's pretty close to his. It's pretty close to the area that he likes to research the best.
Yeah.
And only people that's been in there with Martin has been Barton Nunley, who's our other comrade there at the LBA. So, I don't have a problem with it, as long as he don't. But it's I don't think he would. You'd have to get with him, because quite frankly, without him, I would get lost back in there. He knows those roads like the back of his hand. So,
all right.
I got lost there this last weekend. So,
well,
it's very easy.
I don't think he would mind going with us, because we'd have a pretty nice sized group. DA Roberts and I have been talking about it, and I wanted to get Jay to come with us. As long as it's the summertime, I think he can come.
Yeah.
Make sure you bring
come anytime you want.
Yeah, make sure y'all bring plenty of tick spray, because they're all over us.
They're all
over us. We're talking about January, and Barton had them on him, and I had them on me last week. So
I have some special spray that I used, and DA Roberts will tell you. As soon as I sprayed him with it, nothing was going near him at all. So
does it come in a green bottle with a yellow lid?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, I've got some stuff from the military that you spray on your clothes. It'll keep them off of you.
Somewhere I've got some of that in a green bottle and yellow lid someplace.
Yeah, I've got some of that myself. I don't know what it's called, but I've got it.
It's called only going at day and making sure that there's outdoor toilets. That's
well, it's actually old. The one I've got's old. I don't think I used it very many times. I've had it for years.
Justin.
Yeah.
Hey, you came in at we were in the middle of a huge conversation, man. What are you, before we're out of time here, man, but what are your thoughts on for one, the murders and everything else. We were just talking about something Darrell saw at LBL that he'd never seen before, and we were thinking maybe a new cryptid or something. It's something he'd never seen.
Well, as far as the original LBL story, man, I mean, it makes sense to me. It rings true to me as far as everything going on. I know Barton's investigated it a lot. At this point, it's almost to status of legend, right? There's no way for us to really research it. There's not really much of a way for us anymore to discount it or have evidence one way or the other. You know what I mean? So I think we have to take the evidence that's been put out there and just go with that. And the evidence makes sense from the original story, you know?
Yeah.
For what we know about the different things about north end of LBL, the other sightings that are out there, things that we're learning now from various reports, it all kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? It just kind of fits into the overall picture. So unless something comes out where it can be a definitive type of evidence against it, then I have to lean definitely towards that it was a real event that happened.
Yeah.
Well, once again, like John mentioned, follow the money. They would lose money. They would lose money if the government didn't. Now, why did the government plow up this area? You've got berms over there. They planted. Now they planted. I've got evidence for that. They planted extra trees and bushes around that area to keep people away. They made it so you had to walk in a mile. You know, most people, once they're there, they don't want to have to walk in an additional mile, you know? So, I mean, they're trying to hide something, and why? So sort of, you know.
I think it could be a local government. I'm not so sure that it's national government, but then that's why I asked about if anybody knew anything about the story about John Kennedy and signing a bill and I don't remember it, but I remember something about it. Yeah, Justin, you know anything about that?
Signing what kind of bill?
That's what I can't remember. Supposedly there was you know, I mean, I was in high school when Kennedy was assassinated, so it had been prior to that. But supposedly there was something about he created a national park there, or he signed a bill to do land development or something. But
within the LBL?
Yeah, something about a bill that he had signed. Or now look, there's people out there that know politics a lot better than any of us.
It rings a bell, but I'm with you. I can't specify anything, but it does ring a bell.
JFK signed a total of 36 bills assigning over 36 different national parks.
Well, then one of those.
I'm going through it now.
Well, I was going to say Roosevelt, JFK, and was it Hoover? Was it Hoover?
Yeah.
They all had major stuff to do with the national parks. You know what I mean? Like they were all big people with it. I think it was Hoover.
Well,
I'm not a politics person either, so
Carter did too. Signed something, and gosh, who else was it?
Each one of those bills, you would have to look at it, you know, with a fine tooth comb. All 36
with a legal.
I did a quick search here. I've got an app that search for JFK bills and nothing. Well, delve into it.
Yeah, it's something about it. I mean, maybe it's Jimmy. Maybe it had to do with Jimmy Hoffa. I don't know. I'm gonna have. I just know.
Hoffa's buried in New Jersy someplace. Believe me.
Well, I'm gonna have a colonoscopy done on Monday. Maybe they'll find him.
You never know.
Living up here in the Smoky Mountains, I mean, this is the most visited national park in the country.
Yeah.
You know, we see anywhere from 12 to 14 million people annually coming through our parks.
And if there was a murder done, or somebody got murdered by a Bigfoot in an area or some kind of creature, how many more people would show up?
Land between the lake, gentlemen.
Bigfoot is huge tourist up here.
Oh yeah.
What's up, Gary?
Gentlemen. March 3rd, 1963, the area Land Between the Lakes was designated as a national recreation area by President John F. Kennedy, and it was originally managed by the Tennessee Valley Authority.
Bingo.
There you go.
There it is.
It was originally
There it is.
flooded by the Tennessee Valley Authority.
Okay, so
right.
so where's your
what
political conspiracy in that? We'll call it that for lack of better, because we don't have proof. Other than,
Easy.
than the
There's a
bill.
lot of people that think that the whole point of the national park system was literally to set up secret places that the government can control and keep the public out of, whether it be for military experiments, whether it be for, dumb, whether it be for places to put these cryptids. I've heard all different kinds of theories about it. But the main purpose to set up some of these national parks was to be able to, for one, control the population within those parks and where they go, and then to be able to have their own areas that they can control, keep these critters in specifically, and to also have secret military operations in them.
That's like the conspiracy. I say conspiracy for lack of a better. That's like a story that I heard
Yeah.
about all the wildfires going on in California in the area that they are, was to eradicate the cryptids in that area. Now, really,
I think there'd be better ways.
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely would be.
Much better ways.
Well, gentlemen, we've kind of got to the end of our film here, time period.
Yeah,
So we're gonna
unfortunately.
have to call it for today.
But that was a good show, guys. And I'm gonna hit record or hit the stop record button in a second. But I just want to thank y'all for coming on. All our guests that are listening tonight. You can reach any of us by messenger. If you have any questions or questions for the next show, topics, anything, just don't be afraid to hit us up. Thank you for watching. Everyone be good to each other, and God bless. Good night, guys.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Appreciate it.
Night,
Thank
guys.
you, guys.
Good night.
Thank everybody for watching.